Okay, what's going on, everybody? I am back with a anime review this time. It's JJ Wilson here. It's been a minute since I did one of these. I've been doing Star Wars Corner episodes all this time on the channel, but now we'll get back to one of the original reasons I started my channel in the first place was doing the anime talk. So there was a somewhat anticipated anime, or I shouldn't say or. Yeah, there was a well-anticipated anime that came out, and it's based on a popular video game series from Namco Bandai called Tekken. And so, it was brought to you by Netflix, the alternate streaming service channel that you can get on your television and online. Everybody, at least in America and other countries, know about Netflix. So that's where you can watch the anime, or you can do like I did and a few others that I know, watch it on alternative anime sites. Anyway, the setting of Tekken, it takes place around the third game. So if anybody knows about Tekken, there's 7 games that are out right now. So it first started in the 90s, and the game takes place like right before the third game, the third King of Iron Fist tournament, and it's basically telling the story of Jin Kazama. And I guess I can elaborate a little bit on his background a bit. People in the Tekken series, they already know this stuff, but he's the son of Kazuya Mishima and Jun Kazama. They were both competitors in the past King of Iron Fist tournaments. You only saw his mother in the second one. His dad was in the first tournament, the second tournament, and of course he was supposed to die, but he comes back by the fourth game, and then he's in every game after that. So the third Tekken tournament is the only one he's not present because he's supposed to be dead at that point. But I won't spoil it for those that haven't played Tekken or whatever to find out why he got resurrected or whatever. But if there's like another season to this, then they might show you exactly how it was done. But anyway, what are my thoughts on the Tekken anime overall? I thought it was decent, actually. I was a little nervous. I was even more nervous when I saw that the series was just 6 episodes, if I'm not mistaken. Just 6, right? So I got a little nervous about that. Like, oh boy, that's not a lot of time to talk about the third Iron Fist tournament, because there were several new characters in that tournament, and we didn't even get to see most of them appear in this short anime, unfortunately. Guys like Eddie Gordo, Brian Fury, you just kind of saw like messages or them being mentioned by dialogue, or you saw pictures of them, but you actually didn't get to see them fight. I did not see Forrest Law. Martial Law, I think, was there, but he technically was not in the third tournament. You didn't see Yoshimitsu. He's in every Tekken game. There was mention of the bear Kuma, but we didn't get to see him. And then there's Panda, and funny enough, Panda is a bodyguard for Xiao Yu. You didn't see her. Who else? Mokujin. He's like a joke character. I shouldn't have mentioned him. Oh, Gunjack. You didn't see Gunjack. The next robot from Jack 2. He came after Jack 2 and the original Jack. So you got the robot series in the Tekken games. So you didn't see that. So it's like, it's very strange. So let's go over some of the good things I did like about the anime. I did like the fact that they stayed pretty much close to the story for Jin Kazama, and it might have been a few exaggerations here and there, but for the most part, it was pretty accurate about what happened to Jin and how he was raised by his mother. And she pretty much taught him to defend himself, but do it in a more pacifist way. Not to be overly emotional, not to come to rash decisions, not to, try to bully others with his martial art ability. Some people thought that Jin kind of took it too far when he was beating up. No, not took it too far, but like when he was getting picked on. This was in the first episode when he got picked on by some bullies, and he fought back against them. They was like, "Yeah, fight him back, Jin." But they didn't like the fact that Jun kind of had to reprimand him or tell him like what you did wasn't right, and you actually lost that fight. Why? Because you let your emotions get the better of you. You let your anger cloud your judgment, and you used excessive force when you fought those bullies off. You did more than what was necessary to get the message that, hey, stop messing with me. So that's what that was all about. Some people actually didn't like that, but it was like, that's not bad writing. That's not that's not a diss towards the writers. Like they did that for two reasons. I'm gonna tell you. The first reason, because Jin got angry and he beat up on those guys, one of the boys told the parents or his father about what happened to him because he got beat up so bad. The father and the son went back to Jin's house. They found his house where he and his mother were living in the middle of this forest island, Yakushima. That's where the story first takes place. So they go over there, and then like Jin was like, "Oh, I'm sorry for what I did," and stuff like that, because Jun told him like he had to apologize for that. But then, of course, the dad didn't care, and he tried to fight Jin, only to get knocked out by Jun. Funny enough. So that was the first reason. So his unintended consequence caused somebody else to get hurt, even though he had no idea who this person was. You know, the father's boy. Excuse me, the dude that he beat up, his dad came over to try to mess with him. So the second reason was Ogre. And this is the main driver of why Jin eventually went to his grandfather and trained under him. So Ogre came and paid Jin Kazama a visit. Well, actually, yeah, it was Jin, but he ended up fighting Jun first. So this is why Ogre came into the Kazamas, because Ogre sensed Jin's power. He sensed how strong this kid was, and he wanted to take it. That's why he was out there. But Jun was there, and he fought. She could sense him coming. Ogre was coming, and she pretty much told Jin to stay in the house. Now, this could have been bad writing right here. Had Jin stayed inside the house the entire time, that would not have been a good look for him. It would officially put Jin Kazama in the Asta Deku category, being a whiner and a complainer, and somewhat of a coward. But thankfully that didn't happen. Thankfully that did not happen, and he did go out there and try to fight that monster, but obviously he was too weak. And big shout out to Jun Kazama, probably one of the better characters in that show, I would say, because not only was she wise, she has a tremendous will to live, like, and she can fight to the bitter end. Like, she did her best, and she even sacrificed herself to try to kill Ogre. So big ups to Jun for not getting completely destroyed by Ogre, you know, even though she's a very, very capable martial artist, as we saw. So this leads to the polar opposite of Jun's personality in life. You got Heihachi Mishima, the tragic hero of the Tekken game. So Heihachi, he's a very, very meticulous character, man. Like, this guy is as cunning and as shrewd as it gets. And this is another character that they did a very good job of fleshing out his personality. So when Jin got out there to meet his grandfather for the first time, because that's what his mom wanted, in case something happened to her, he needed to go to Heihachi. That was his grandfather. So Jin has all these questions for Heihachi, but of course Heihachi flat out tells him, like, you're not gonna get anything easy out of me. You gotta earn it, basically. So he told him that in his office. And so, like, at first he tested his skills. He wanted to see how strong this kid was, and he wasn't too impressed. He was like, yeah, the Kazama style is good, but it's too weak. You're not ruthless enough. You gotta be almost heartless out here when it comes to fighting off your enemies. Like, you can't have any kind of remorse at all. And then there was one scene in the second episode where he hesitated Jin when there was a guy that tried to attack Jin, because him and Heihachi had a disagreement. He could have killed this guy. Jin could have finished him off, but he let him live. And Heihachi's like, you hesitated. That's not going to be good enough to kill Ogre. You know what I'm saying? So all throughout the anime, Jin had these conflicts in his head. And this is kind of one of the negatives on the anime. Like, there was a lot of flashbacks. Like, we kind of get it by now, especially if you're a long-time gamer of the Tekken series. We kind of get why Jin is the way he is. And they used those flashbacks to kind of pinpoint, you know, what was going on in his mind. It was good, but it was kind of like over the top, you know. I wouldn't say it was a overly negative thing, but it was a little bit overkill, because we kind of get it. Like, yeah, Jin's trying to figure out what to do when he's fighting off against his friends, or he's fighting guys that actually disrespected him in this tournament. Or he's trying to be, you know, a pacifist and you know, turn the other cheek guy, and then on the other hand, he's trying to be ruthless and heartless so that he can have enough power and strength to kill off Ogre. So it's like, damn. So yeah, you got this conflict going on between inside of Jin with being kind versus being ruthless or savage, right? And so what was another pro? So like another pro was they stayed fairly true to some of the characters' techniques. I mean, you kind of saw that with almost every fight. But that was good, actually. I'm glad they kind of did that. I mean, it could have been a lot more fleshed out. And I would say, like, when Jin finally fights Ogre, it did look a little bit more like Dragon Ball until Ogre transformed into his real self. Like, he has two forms. So he has his human form, and then he has his true mythical creature form. And that's like his real version, Ogre's version of himself as a demon. So, like, I guess... So yeah, I did like the fact that they did stay true to the characters' movesets. Now, what I will say that I didn't appreciate, or I think there just wasn't enough time. The pacing was a bit of a problem because it was so short, so that's one kind of going against it. Like, by the time they got to the tournament, they had to move things so quickly that they couldn't get all those fights in there. I think that's one thing I kind of wanted to see. I wanted to see more fights, not just with Jin, but with some of these other characters too. And they did add a few in there with Xiao Yu and Paul Phoenix, but you didn't see everybody fight, and some of the people that won was very questionable. I'm not going to mention names, but like certain characters probably should not have lost in the first round so quickly. And I know, and funny enough, there's a character that recently came out in Tekken 7, Leroy Smith. He's not in the third game, he's not in the third tournament, but they insert him in there anyway, which I found interesting. I don't know if they did that due to popular demand or what, but they added Leroy in there, and little spoiler alert, that was his first opponent. Jin Kazama's first opponent in that tournament was Leroy, and he beats Leroy. So I don't know if Leroy fans would appreciate that, but no, another spoiler. But yeah, he does get dialogue in the game, and not the game, in the anime. He does have dialogue in the anime. And for the most part, he pretty much stayed true to character. So it wasn't like he was acting a certain way or out of character. He pretty much stayed true to how we remember him in the 7th edition of Tekken. So yeah, there was just no way that Leroy was going to beat Jin in the opening round, and it's his story. It's Jin Kazama's tale in the third tournament. Like, that just wasn't going to happen. Like, come on. Right? Any other cons I can think of? Well, that's probably the main thing. Like, it was just pacing issue. They were trying to add so much that it just wasn't enough time to get those fights in. That's pretty much all I can say. And yeah, you could say the animation could have stepped up though. I mean, but that's probably a budget issue again. You know, like, animation probably could have been better as well. They did what they could with this anime. You know, I think. So yeah, that's probably another thing that's kind of working against it. Like, sometimes, like, in those fights, the animation didn't really look 100%. And then yeah, they redid a bunch of scenes already that we saw in other fights. Like, they kind of did the same moves a little bit too. So you thought, man, maybe they could do some other stuff. But you know, hey, those guys, you know, they had to make do what they had, I guess, with their money. The producers of the anime. So that's that. So I'm kind of dragging this on, so that's kind of all I could tell you with the anime without going into so many spoilers, right? So go ahead and watch it. For those that like the Tekken series, I thought it was okay. I thought it was decent. You know, it wasn't like amazing, but it wasn't a letdown either, right? But that's my thoughts on the anime. Tell me what you guys think. If you saw it or if you didn't see it, go plan to watch it if you can. Just 6 episodes, so it's not long. Anyway, that's all from here, and hope to see you all again next time.